Hey everyone! Today I have such a fun project. I hope you think it's fun anyway. I do. I am making these mixed media laminated napkin envelopes. And this napkin was just a plain rust, like this background. That's all it was. It didn't have anything on it. So I did some stamping, of course, and made a cute little pouch. This one has the snap, and that's the inside. And, I mean, it's kind of waterproof, I guess. Wouldn't it be? And then this one is the white ply of that napkin that I stamped on, run an eyelet through for the enclosure, and then I painted with distress inks the inside. And so that the inside, I don't know if you can tell, it's a little bit shiny. I mean, the distress inks, they completely dry, but I just always still had it in my mind if someone put fabric, and I do ship fabric in these sometimes. I think these are a nice thank you gift, but I was worried that that distress ink would come off, so I did coat the inside before I folded it up, and after my distress ink had dried, I coated it with Mod Podge. A lot of people don't like Mod Podge because they say it still feels sticky, but I promise it doesn't. It not on this. I don't know if it's just the type of item that I'm putting it on, or if it's the weather here, or you know what, but it really isn't sticky. So I thought today we could make some of these, and I will show you some tips I have. I do all kinds of things with these. I make lace pockets and, all kinds of things. One tip I'll give you about making a lace pocket, it's better to put your lace horizontal. And then if you know where you're going to fold, which I've learned on mine is about 4 inches is the perfect fold, to leave your a little bit of open strip at that 4 inches. And it'll fold nicer and it will lay a lot flatter if you do that. Same thing with the top. I leave a little opening where my lace is. And no one notices when it's folded because that's the folded piece. Another thing I like to do on fabric lace is, again, I've left that little seam there, and these are wider ones. I just simply fold them up, sew on the edges, and it makes a really, really pretty pouch to put a thank you gift in. I think that's really cute. All right, so let's get to it. And I'm going to try to keep my light off so that it doesn't shine on the laminating pouches. I hope that it's bright enough. I also wanted to show you, I done one pouch with the 3mm and one pouch with the 5mm. And to be honest, because we're separating that laminating pouch, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. This is a 3, and you see it's very pliable. And this was the 5, and it's still pliable. It's just a little bit thicker. I mean, it's a little bit sturdier. Like, I think for using the snaps, I would probably use a 5mm so that it gives it some sturdiness to hook that snap to, so that when the pulling and things, it doesn't tear. And then also, here is a Christmas one that I've done, and I've done some stamping on the outside. And this ink is dry. It stays on. That's the only kind that will dry on laminate. Stays on ink. And I thought that was really pretty. And the reason I show you that is because anything that we stamp on this, because we stamp it on the inside, is going to be backwards. So like if you stamp words or numbers, you can tell on this one, they're backwards. All my numbers, and I hate that, but it's mixed media, and I thought it looked cool, so I was okay with it. But normally I try to just make markings or script writing that you really can't read it anyway, so you don't know that it's backwards. You know, I do the paint stamps or kind of like any kind of markings work better for this. You're going to use words or numbers, I would say, to stamp them on the outside if it's important to you that they're the correct way. Okay, so I have my pouch here, and I think this one is a 5. It doesn't really matter. Again, I just grabbed one. So on one side, and you could do this on both sides. I mean, if you had a white napkin, you could stamp on both sides and it's going to look really nice. I'm not going to do that because the other side of my napkin that I'm using today is very decorated, and so I don't need any extra. But to do just the one side, the white side of your napkin, you do your stamping, open up your laminate pouch like I just did, and do your stamping. And on this one, I'm just going to do probably what I've been doing with the mixed media. I'm sorry, the script writing, just like this. Just going to random stamp. Just been using black. You could use any color you wanted to. I try to get close to the edge, and on something like this where I'm using words, I just move them every which way so that, again, it doesn't matter that they're upside down, or I mean backwards. And then I use, whoops, look, I got someone, and that's another thing. Once you close this pouch, it's going to be on the other side too. And I'm okay with that because I like the script writing on anything. So I might, here, just for kicks, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to open it back up, and you'll see it's on both sides. And I'm okay with that on the pretty flowers. I think it's going to look good. But if you don't want it to be on your decorated piece, make sure and keep your pouch open so that they don't touch, because this is not going to dry. I'm not using Stays-On. I'm using VersaFine, actually. I'm just going to random stamp some paint splatter. When you're doing the edge pieces, the closer you can get your stamp to the edge, it's easier to get up in those creases. All right, I think that's all I'm going to do with this one. Just keep it simple. And you want to make sure when you're putting your napkin down to put the colored side away on the side that does not have inking. Which, in my case, I've done that on both sides now, so it doesn't really matter. But just, you know, for you, if you're not going to put markings on both sides, you'll want to do it like this. Okay, now I'm going to trim up my napkin. And see, that's going to look real pretty on that napkin. Gives it a nice background. So I'm going to trim up a napkin. And I like to leave a little bit at the end, at the bottom, because it makes it easier to open it up after it's been laminated. But I usually trim pretty close to the sides because my laminating sheet machine is not that wide, and it will start turning it, kind of moving it sideways if I don't have it pretty even with my sides. And I do, of course, keep those pieces, extra pieces of napkin. Okay, so now I'm just going to run it through. And there we have our wonderful piece. Okay, so I hope that the lighting is okay. I know that it's a bit dark because I didn't want that bright light. But, so the napkin on the end, I just opened it up because I did not separate my plies, so it opens up. Just like that. Very easy. The top, I like to go ahead and trim because you can tear it apart, but it sometimes will rip, and I don't learned that the hard way. It will rip if you pull it too hard, and I don't want it to accidentally rip my napkin. So I'm just going to trim along the top to open it up. Just like that. So now we have our cool mixed media piece. And we have our beautiful envelope napkin. Oh, doesn't it look cool with that writing in the background? That may be something I have to do from now on. I love that. Love that. That's really pretty. So now what I would do is make an envelope out of this. And how pretty is that going to be? I'm not going to do it on this one, but I was going to tell you another thing that you can do is you can stamp that it will come out right. So, in other words, I know that at 4 inches, all of my stamping needs to be that way. If I have my thing laying like this, I'm going to stamp everything to 4 inches to my left. And then at that 4 inches up, I'm going to turn my stamp and stamp them all correct to the right. That way, when I fold this, everything is going to be correct. I didn't do that on this one. I was just stamping everything one way because it occurred to me that on one side, it is going to be correct. However, it's going to be correct on the shiny side being in. And that's fine because I'm going to paint mine. And so the outside will be just as protected. The outside will be just as protected because I'm going to paint this with Mod Podge. However, by stamping it before you laminate, like I did, and it does come up right. Like I said, there is a way to do it where your words will come up right, but it's that the shiny side is on the inside. And that's okay too, because then you have like where you could put pins and stuff in here and it wouldn't hurt anything. So your outside now is going to look correct, like this. See, my words are correct. So I used some Nouveau sprays on this, and I probably wouldn't do that again because they're very dark. See, you can barely see my stamping. So that's where I think I might wait and stamp afterwards. On this napkin, it probably will take the stamping better. I just liked for the laminate to be on the outside so that my pouch was protected. Here's another one that I've done. Isn't it pretty? Okay. And just for kicks, we can see if the stamping, if it takes the stamping well on the napkin. I know that it will. I just think that I'm from Show Me, so I'm going to show you. The thing with stamping and coloring on the napkin and then wanting this to be your outside, if you want this to be your outside, it has to be really dark or it won't show through. Let me show you. This is one that I done before I learned that I should stamp first. And I did all the distress inks and the colorings, and then I stamped. And I had to really stamp to make this show through. I had to do it like 2 and 3 times over the same spot to make it come through. I know you're thinking, well, there's not a lot of difference. There is if you can see it in person. There's quite a bit of difference. This is a lot darker than this, and it's been painted. I hope that you can maybe see the difference. Probably not, but it's true. Okay, just take my word for it. So if you want the napkin to be your outside, and your words will be right and that kind of thing, let's stamp it. See how good it comes up. Oh, it comes out good. Yeah, it's a nice dark. It shows well. And it dries on the napkin. This paint is yellow, obviously, from before. But you could do that. You could make the napkin your outside. And that way, if you want to stamp words and such, they'll be the correct way. And if you wait until afterwards, after you've folded, you know you have your words the right way, so that your flap will be correct and your words will be correct. I hope all that makes sense and I'm not making it more difficult. But for now, this is how I did it. I stamped before I laminated. And now I'm going to take some of these distress inks and just spray. And I used fossilized amber, spice marmalade, and peacock feathers. And I'm going to use a little bit of gathered twigs. Now, when I done this before on the envelope that I showed you was lighter, I used acrylic paints or water paints, watercolor paints. But I'll say that on the watercolor paints, look how pretty this is now. Isn't that cool? Let me wipe this down a little bit, my desk. On the watercolor paints, because, you know, they're water, you run the risk of dissolving your napkin because this is still just a napkin. Even though it won't tear, you know, it will dissolve. And I have really hit it hard in spots, and it probably will do that. However, when we paint it with the Mod Podge, it'll seal over that and it'll be just fine, just like the rest of your napkin. So I'm going to take just a dry towel because I'm just going to dab at this because I don't like that dusty look that oxides have. Of course, when I go over it with the Mod Podge, it's going to not look like that. But for the most part, here is our finished piece. Isn't that pretty? I love it so much. Okay, so we have to wait for this to dry. It doesn't take long. I did this one before. This probably 30 minutes ago, and it's dry. So we'll paint this one. So I say paint, we're going to put Mod Podge. Also wanted to put Mod Podge on this one to see if it makes the colors any lighter where I can see my words a little bit better. So the best thing I've noticed to put the Mod Podge on with, if you can use a paintbrush as long as it's soft bristle. The best thing is probably the sponge brushes. I don't have any that are of any size right now. They're all just really small. So what I did was I used a little roller brush like this, and I can't find my handle part of it. 1 second. Okay, so I've located the handle part of it, and it looks just like, well, I'm sure that's what this is for. This is for actual painting, not for what I'm doing, but I found it worked pretty good. So we're going to use it. We're going to paint this one just so I can show you how to do it. I don't know. It's probably pretty self-explanatory. I just dipped this in because I don't have a squirt bottle. And I just kind of dab it around like this and then roll it to spread it. And I don't know that this is even necessary, but I just had it in my mind, if I didn't seal that paint or that distress ink, it might come off on whatever I decide to use this for. I do know that Mod Podge, my friend, you know, she says it stays sticky. Well, not just my friend. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like the Mod Podge because it stays sticky. And it does it can on paper. Just plain, you know, like your master boards and such. It takes a long time for them to cure. I think Laura said it could take up to 6 months for that stickiness to stop on like a master board or something like that. But on this napkin, and like I said, I don't know if it's because it's the napkin, you know, with the... Isn't that pretty? Look how bright it is on this side. But on this side, because I stamped and then sprayed with these sprays, it doesn't show very good. And that is how I would have to do it because my words are going to be backwards from the outside. So that's how I learned you have to pay attention to your stamping, which direction it's going. and that it can only be on the one side, not both. I hope that makes sense, because on one side it's going to be backwards. You'll just have to, I know that I'm confusing that, so you'll just have to do some experimenting, and you'll quickly, I'm sure, see what I'm talking about. Love this one. I love how it turned out. So pretty. So I think what I'm going to do is I wanted to show you, I'm probably going to put, I don't know if I'm going to put a snap on this one or some lace. Wouldn't lace enclosure be pretty on that? I was going to show you that I've done some other things too. You can laminate any of your napkins. Like this was a piece I had left from the bottom of one I decoupaged, or the top, whatever. So I laminated it together, even though it didn't have the white ply. I just folded it and made it have two sides. So when I laminated it, I cut off the top, and now I have a cool little pouch that I can send stuff in. And then I have a taller one, just like this, same thing. I'm thinking about, on this one, maybe cutting the front where I can fold down the back. And that is what I want to do, so let's just do that. I'll straighten that up a little bit better, but then I can fold it over and have a neat little pouch. And I'll probably sew around this one as well. I like that. And then here's some pieces that I had left over from some Merry Christmas ones. And of course, you can, if your napkin says something and you know you're going to turn it into an envelope or a pouch of any kind, just remember to put your words facing opposite directions, which I thought I had nailed it, and obviously I didn't. I had one, they're facing each other. You want them to face opposite directions so that no matter how you fold it, or so that when you fold it, you can fold it where your words will be right, instead of having to do it like I've just done it. And I don't know, I might cut it and make a little matchbook, notepads or something like that. It won't go to waste. But those are the tips I have for you on when you laminate, trying to make your things come up the right way. Well, that was short and sweet, wasn't it? And this is a 5mm pouch, and you can definitely tell the difference on the snap. You don't feel like it's going to tear it. On the 3, and I put a little charms here. You can tell that one's handmade. I did that one myself out of cardboard and just wrote the numbers myself. But I like the grungy, so I thought it looked okay. But anyway, on the 3, it's flimsier, so it kind of makes me think this probably wasn't the best option to do a snap on this one. But anyway, I hope you liked this video. Hope that you all will give it a try. Maybe you already do this. Maybe this isn't anything new. I mean, I don't know. I was just real tickled about it and thought I'd come up with something really great. So let me know your thoughts. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.